The largest tree in the entire world is right here in the U.S. and is a giant sequoia in California named General Sherman. It has been growing for about 2,500 years. Tonight, it is directly in the path of a dangerous wildfire, and all park rangers can do is wrap the tree in fire-resistant foil. That is one small bit of reality of the changing climate. As the United Nations found in a recent report, human-caused emissions of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases are the primary driver of such changes, and yet for decades, many oil and gas companies like Exxon knew the world's use of fossil fuels would warm the planet and could eventually endanger humanity. But they chose to put its muscle behind efforts to manufacture doubt about the reality of global warming its own scientists had once confirmed. Now Congress is investigating. Yesterday, the House Environmental Subcommittee sent letters to the CEOs of 4 major oil companies, along with the presidents of 2 trade groups, requesting information on their organization's role in spreading disinformation, setting a hearing date of October 28th. Congressman Khanna is a Democrat from California. He's chair of the Environment Subcommittee that is planning on holding these hearings, and he joins me now. Congressman, tell me what the idea is behind this hearing.
Well, Chris, you framed it exactly correctly. We want to have big oil hearings like Waxman had the big tobacco hearings. In fact, people advising Waxman actually are helping us craft the investigation. There are 3 main objectives. First, get the executives to admit the climate disinformation they've had in the past. Second, ask what the ongoing activities are in killing climate legislation or funding shadow groups. And third, get them to commit to stop that and not run interference in the president's agenda.
Well, they're probably not going to do the third, right?
Well, look, I mean, they've told their own board of directors that they're for sustainability. I mean, they're telling the American public, even in response to our letters, they're saying that they actually are for good climate policy. So they have the First Amendment right to kill climate legislation, but what they don't have the First Amendment right is to lie. They can't lie to their board of directors. They can't lie to their customers. And so they need to come clean in what they're actually doing.
Yeah, I mean, I want to play this little bit of it again from this that sort of interview with the lobbyist that was recorded by the Greenpeace folks and then published by in the UK of him talking about the carbon tax, which I think is fascinating. Basically, you've got a number of these companies who say, "Oh yeah, we support a carbon tax." Would you think, well, that's weird? I wouldn't expect that. He sort of explains why that's the case. Take a listen.
Nobody is going to propose a tax on all Americans. And the cynical side of me says, yeah, we kind of know that. But it gives us a talking point that we can say, well, what is ExxonMobil for? Well, we're for a carbon tax. No, it's not going to, a carbon tax isn't going to happen. And the bottom line is it's going to take political courage, political will, in order to get something done. And that doesn't exist in politics. It just doesn't.
What do you think of that?
Well, it's the most cynical explanation, and we have actually reached out to McCoy. Exxon has already produced documents to our committee concerning all of that, some very concerning documents that I don't want to go into, but they're going to have a lot of explaining to do. And the reality is this, Chris, is the clips you played with Big Tobacco, what really killed them is those executives coming to Congress and lying. And I think if the oil executives come before our committee and lie, they're going to be done. The best thing they can do is come clean, tell us exactly what they've been doing, and commit to stopping it.
Yeah, why does it matter if they, I mean, I would love for the record to reflect what they know and what they've known, but why does that matter?
Well, why it matters is we're going to ask them, are you going to stop spending millions and millions of dollars on killing climate legislation? And they have one of 2 choices. Either they say no, in which case they're basically lying to their board of directors, lying to the American public, or they say yes, and then if they continue to do it, they've committed perjury. The reason they've gotten away with this is because, frankly, Democrats haven't controlled Congress that much over the last 20-some years, so we've never had the power of subpoena, and we haven't been willing to use it. And Carolyn Maloney and I have said, you're going to come in, we're willing to use any tool in our toolbox. And so they really now are going to be under oath, and it's a different ballgame.
What are they doing up on the Hill right now? I mean, you've got this, you've got the clean energy standard. It's been changed around a little bit, clean electricity standard, or it's going to be a amount of money paid to utilities to get it through reconciliation. But this would really be key, right? We want to get utilities moving away from fossil fuel. And how active are they on the Hill right now on this pressing point?
They're very active. I mean, the Clean Energy Standard, in my view, is the most important part about the reconciliation bill. It would create both incentives and stakes for utilities to move towards renewable energy by 2030. And those lobbyists are working, from what I hear, both with House Democrats, some House Democrats and senators, to try to say kill it or weaken it. And what we're saying is now there's going to be a magnifying glass, because you're going to have to answer under oath whether you're actually engaged in that kind of lobbying. And if you are, you're going to have to explain that to the American public.
When you say lying to their shareholders, I mean, there's an interesting, the angle here, right, is that they know that their business model is not sustainable long term. Like, you can't pull oil out of the ground in 2080. You just can't do it, right? So they have to have some story they're telling shareholders and financial markets about what they're going to do.
Chris, you're right. And actually, I was in New York, coincidentally, a couple of days ago, and someone in the finance industry said they have a capital problem. With ESG investment, they know that giving investment into oil and gas companies without a sustainability plan is much more expensive investment. So they understand all of that. They had activist board of directors, Exxon did, elected, who said, we want to have a green energy plan. Darren Woods, the CEO, has said, okay, I want to have a green energy plan. We support climate legislation. That's their public posture. They can't then simultaneously be funding third-party groups to kill climate legislation. They can't be misleading their own company shareholders. And I think that's really the crux of their liability.
All right, Congressman Khanna, we will keep our eyes on that, which is coming up. Thank you.